Hey, I'm Tim Berglund with Confluent. I'd like to give you an overview of the security features of Confluent Cloud and give you an idea how Confluent Cloud helps complete your overall security plan without making your life more complex than it needs to be. This means you get to production faster and you don't have to worry about as many things, and we like that. And when your first application is running well, makes it that much easier to look for the next one to move to the cloud. Now, security is, of course, critical, but it also tends to be complex, and the risk of making a mistake is potentially catastrophic. Doesn't matter what industry you're in, right? Finance, healthcare, public sector, this matters to everybody. And not to belabor the point, but let's just remind ourselves what's hard about it. You can't just secure some things. Security has to be holistic and end-to-end. It has to include storage, that's data at rest, networking, that's data in flight, and all of the connections between all of the parts of the system in between. And for systems beyond hello world, you're going to have a bunch of applications and principles and resources, which in this case usually would mean topics, right, for the most part. And you're going to need to provide granular access control from your principles to those resources in a way that you can possibly stand managing. And of course, security is not just a good idea, it's often the law. In fact, it's lots and lots of laws and regulations. You have major compliance concerns in place that you literally must follow. And you can't let yourself take a simplistic approach to this. It's not just a matter of topics, but it's connectors, schema registry, KSQL DB queries. It's the whole integrated platform. That whole thing has to be secured. And you could build all of that on your own, but it's probably not your job to build that kind of infrastructure. It is, as it turns out, our job. Confluent provides a managed service with all of the required security features and compliance validations and certifications built in, so you can focus on building applications that actually serve your customers and, add value to your business. That's the stuff you really want to focus on. Now, let's take a look at the parts of this. First, securing data against unwanted access. All data at rest is encrypted in Confluent Cloud by default. There isn't even a setting for it. We just do it. You can't stop us. However, we do provide BYOK, or bring your own key functionality, to give you the ability to set the encryption key if that's a part of a broader key management solution you've got laid out. This way you maintain full control over the data at rest by controlling that key. All of the network communication in Confluent Cloud, that's data in flight, is encrypted with TLS. And not old TLS. We've disabled 1.0 and 1.1. We only support 1.2 for transport encryption for your data in flight in Confluent Cloud. And of course, your Confluent Cloud resources need to talk to other cloud things, which means we have to have private networking. We provide private link and VPC peering support, so you can pick the approach you prefer there. Second, let's look at granular access control over clusters and other Confluent Cloud resources. Now, I personally enjoy using the Confluent Cloud login page, but hey, maybe you have your own identity provider, ruling, authentication in your organization, like the Master Control Program in Tron, and that's fine. We provide SAML SSO so that you can use it to authenticate users to Confluent Cloud. So your central management of those users is subject to the same controls, hopefully not tyrannical ones, the same controls and policies that govern the rest of your organization. As I record this, we're planning the near future preview of Cluster RBAC in Confluent Cloud. This enables you to control access to environments and clusters, not just intra-cluster resources like topics and KSQL DB applications and connectors. This way you can protect resources based on the policies you set for coarse-grained things like, say, the dev environment and production and things like that, not just specific resources like topics. When it comes to bread and butter authorization tasks, like determining which applications can read and write which topics, we do provide granular access controls using ACLs, just like you'd expect. Third, you not only want to keep secrets and control who sees what, but you want to keep track of who has done what. With auditing and monitoring, you get visibility into who has accessed what resources and when, and what changes have been made to access controls, giving you the opportunity to identify anomalies and abnormal behavior, and which in this case are probably bad behavior. So those are things you want to be able to detect. Confluent Cloud Audit Logs is in preview at the time of this recording. It captures all the salient Kafka authorization and authentication events. After it becomes generally available, we plan to expand it to organization-level operations next. Back to those compliance certifications I mentioned earlier. To be specific about those, we've got ISO 27001, SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, PCI, HIPAA, and GDPR. Those are already available on Confluent Cloud. They address your basic InfoSec requirements and basically let you know that Confluent Cloud follows the industry standard security best practices from an operational standpoint. But enough telling, let me show you some of this in action. Here, my buddy Vahid is logging in with an email address that he made up just for this purpose. It's important for you to know that he's only been granted access to the environment called dev test. Now, recall that in Confluent Cloud, environments are like namespaces for clusters. For our purposes here, think of an environment as a collection of clusters with shared security characteristics. The organization Vahid belongs to also happens to have environments called prod and pre-prod, but he can't see them, and so neither can we. Anyway, Vahid is in dev test, and he should be able to create a cluster. We'll give it a name. We'll call it demo cluster, which our writers, again, came up with that all by ourselves. And we're going to put it in AWS and the US East 2 region. We'll make it a dedicated cluster, which, as you see, opens up some new options down there, available only to that cluster type. I'm going to run it in a single zone, and I'm going to keep it small at 1 CKU. A CKU is a cluster sizing unit, if you're curious. Now, for connectivity in and out of this cluster, we can just use the unadulterated private internet, still over TLS, of course, or we can use AWS Private Link or VPC peering. In this case, Vahid wants to use Private Link, which is an option specific to AWS clusters. Now, I need to pick an encryption key scheme for my data at rest. Remember, it's all always encrypted. You can't stop us from encrypting it, but you can pick whether we generate the key or you bring your own. This is that so-called BYOK feature I mentioned earlier. And I'm going to be my OK here, which I do by providing the ARN of the key I've generated in the AWS key management system. Helpfully, we provide a policy definition for you at this point. And by the way, does anybody really write these on their own? Does everybody just use a generator? Now, I'm sure somebody's going to tweet me now saying, yeah, I write my own. And honestly, my hat is off to you, but I for sure don't. Anyway, we give you a policy definition that grants this Confluent Cloud cluster the ability to access that AWS managed key, whose ARN we pasted in just a minute ago. And hey, if you want, you can write the JSON yourself. If you want, you get no judgment from me. Now, once we're authorized to use that key, then we can actually create the cluster. Because it's a dedicated cluster, we're spinning up dedicated instances, so it'll take a little bit of time. Standard and basic clusters are essentially instant to start, but you can't do the cool things with them that we're doing here. And not shown here is DNS work that has to happen. I'd want to set up some CNAMEs for whatever Confluent services I want to access through Private Link. You know, like Bootstrap servers and any other API endpoints of interest that I want to be available from the other side of that link. So, like I said at the start, you've got simple and reasonably complete security capabilities in Confluent Cloud, which means you get to focus on building and scaling your applications. That's the fun part. And you know what? Now is your chance to get started doing just that. Check out Confluent Cloud now, and as always, we want to know what you're building. So, I hope we talk more soon.